Who was the best drunk, alcoholic character in a TV show, movie? I'd say Mr. Leahy from the Trailer Park Boys. I am sober enough to know what I am doing and drunk enough to really enjoy it. Lucille Bluth. Oh shit, great one. Lucille. Get me a vodka rocks. Michael. Mom, it's breakfast. Lucille. And a piece of toast. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Low Key, Kitty Foreman. Randy Marsh. What seems to be the officer problem? Even with 2D animation, they conveyed perfectly how drunk he was. Barney from The Simpsons. Bender. Archer, naturally. McNulty had some adventures. Don Draper in Mad Men. Okay Reddit. How do you think the conflict in Ukraine will really end? Ukraine will continue fighting for as long as the US keeps funding the war. I must be missing something. Why do people think that Putin dying is the answer? Wouldn't another person just take his place? I've heard through the non-Western media that some people within his government even think he's being too weak in this invasion as it is. When Putin dies, the new guy will have a choice. 1. Continue a failing war that is draining Russia dry of the money he and his oligarch friends could be stealing and preventing them from enjoying decadent lifestyles fucking around in Europe. 2. Blame the previous asshole, Putin, for a mismanagement war the way all politicians blame the last guy and go for a path less likely to humiliate them. There is no victory to be had in Ukraine. Putin is stuck there because he can't admit that he went to Ukraine in the first place. The next guy doesn't have that issue. What is your horror story from DNA tests like 23andMe? My grandfather did not die when my dad was 4 like we always thought. Instead, he faked his death, walked 1,500 kilometers to the other end of the country, married a 16-year-old girl and had 7 more children. All the while leaving my grandmother to bring up the 6 children he had with her and his 2 children from an earlier marriage. Worst part was that he used the same names for the second batch of kids as his first lot. Not me, but my coworker found out his bio dad was not who he thought he was. Turns out he is one of the many children of fertility Dr. Donald Klein. There's a Netflix doc about him if you've never heard about him. What's the weirdest reason you've broken up with someone? He talked so fast that I often couldn't understand him. When I would ask him to please talk slower, he would talk louder. But just as fast. She smelled like soup. Edit. I never would have believed my top-rated comment ever would be a, so I married an axe murderer, reference. She threw garbage out my truck window while driving down the road. First date, last date. Her dog was teaching my dog to howl at sirens. In the early 2010-ish era I was in college and went out for Halloween. And met a guy dressed as a pirate that looked like Johnny Depp dressed as a pirate. It was the era of those movies. We started dating and I realized he looked like a pirate the 24th of July 365 and I couldn't handle it. She thought she got the answer to the crossword, when it was actually me. What area of the USA would you least like to live in? Oklahoma, where I currently live. The weather is too random for me. It has been 70 degrees and then 2 days later it felt like -8. Anywhere cold. The amount of metal in my leg does not appreciate it. Which is unfortunate, because I want to move home to Minnesota. Having lived in Mississippi for 6 months, I would say Mississippi. I'm a bit worried about the Southwest's future due to all the water shortages. Nothing against the people that live there, but Alaska. Maybe nice to visit but too cold and too isolated for me to ever move to. I have no personal grudge against these places and bear no ill will to the people who live there. But Reddit has taught me to stay away from Flint, Michigan and Gary, Indiana. Gary is a fucking nightmare. I got some friends over there and Jesus Christ they wonder why I rarely visit them.